Welcome to Baseball Biz. I'm Mark Harbert, your host, and we are certainly glad to have you here today. Mr. Brandon Noe is here. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing really good, Mark. How about you?
I am telling you, dude, I am perky. I'm a poppin'. I am just absolutely having the greatest time of my life because it's opening week. That day we've been clamoring for, the day that I didn't even think, or I should say the week that I've been clamoring for, and I had great doubts it was going to be here.
Yeah, Mark. I mean, it's only been a week at this point, and we've had pretty much everything we've had in a season. I mean, we've already had fights. We've had a perfect game controversy. We've had everything so far. We're only a week in.
So we distill it on this week, and we just roll it up until October, and everything else happens. But yeah, it's been unbelievable, Brandon. I mean, all the activity here. We've got a lot of things to talk about, and boys and girls, we're obviously not going to talk about everything, but we're going to the things that Brandon and I find that have the most interest to us. We hope also have the most interest for you. All right, brother. Where do we want to kick off on this opening week? What's some of the most interesting things that you saw?
One thing that really caught my eye was the hot start that the Blue Jays have.
Ooh.
I mean, looking at them, they got off to a really hot start where at one point they were on track for 931 runs and 324 home runs, which would have blown the record out, which was 307 held by the 2019 Twins. They were so good they earned a nickname called the Bomb Squad, and that was during that home run surge back in 2019. But they cooled off a little bit, and they got shut out by the Yankees in the first game. But then last night they sort of made up for it, and now they have 29 runs in 6 games, averaging 4.8 runs a game. And Vlad Jr., he's been leading the way with 4 homers, 8 RBIs. 3 of them came last night, which was Wednesday night at the time of recording. And Springer's right behind him with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. So a really good start for them.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Just even that Yankees series alone. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, it's like the Yankees ran into a buzzsaw in their own home stadium. Well, what's happening here? I mean, last night watching Vladdy out there, he got 1 home run. Then another time he's out there and somebody steps on his finger and then he starts bleeding and they take a look at it and, well, are we going to take Vladdy out? Vladdy says, no way. Put a little tape on there. I'm going right back out. And then what?
I believe he hit 2 more home runs after that one.
And 2 more home runs. That's the Toronto Blue Jays buzzsaw that's been cooking up there in Yankee Stadium. You know, they're kicking it. They're absolutely going to be kicking it all season long. They may be leading the AL East throughout the entire year, but the Yankees taking it hard, man. You know, and that was the last night, I think, even that Garrett Cole was pitching against the Jays.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they got all the pregame ceremonies done in time so it didn't throw them off too bad. But that was actually a really fun game. It looked like the Blue Jays were going to pull away for a while. Then the Yankees clawed back, and they almost tied it at the end. And I believe it was John Sterling. He had the home run call, or what he thought was going to be a home run. He did his spiel, everything. He was like, he was gone. Caught. I saw it on Twitter, and that was a great way to brighten up my morning.
Oh, well, I know it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to what all's going to happen with the Jays. And our good friend Brent Carty of the Carty Show, if you all haven't listened to him, check him out. He's on most podcast directories everywhere. You know, he sees this. He's seen this coming. I mean, he's got to be excited about it. A lot of us were concerned, well, let's see, they're losing Robbie Ray, and they lost Marcus Semien and all this. And well, how are the Blue Jays going to do? Well, they're showing us how they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good time to be a Toronto sports fan. I mean, you got the Maple Leafs, they're getting hot going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Blue Jays, they're off to a hot start, and who knows what they can do as the season goes on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, my friend. You know, but looking across the country, and we go all the way, let's take a look going out all the way out to the National League West. And the Colorado Rockies, that's what I was a little bit interested. We're looking at a team, last year, they didn't do so well last year. They were pretty much in the basement. But this year, thus far, and we're only talking 5 games into the season, mind you, they are leading the NL West, and that means they're over the Giants, they're over the Dodgers, they're over the Padres, and over the Diamondbacks. Okay, I get that's the Diamondbacks, but still, that they're all good teams in that National League West, and the Rockies are looking pretty daggone good.
I wasn't really expecting anything from them, especially it seemed like they had nobody left out there, but here they are, only 5 games in, but they're still leading the division, a half game over the Giants, who look like they're going to be good again this year. And I kind of feel like I'm breaking my own rule of wait till Memorial Day for some takeaways. But hey, we got to talk about something a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It's like I said, I know it's early. Last year, the Rockies, they fell under 500 for their total wins at the end of the season. But we'll see. We'll see. Who are some of the other teams out there that have drawn your attention?
Well, one team that's caught my attention, not in a good way, they spent all this money in the offseason, is the Texas Rangers. I mean, they got Corey Seager. They made big splashes in free agency, went all in trying to get people to come out and see the new ballpark. And not off to the greatest of starts, going 1-4. I mean, I know they played good teams. They opened up in Toronto against the Blue Jays, and then they were in Denver taking on the Rockies, who seem to be off to a hot start as well. So, I mean, I can't really bash them too much since, like I said, it's only 5-6 games into the season, and they played pretty decent teams so far.
We'll hold on for our rock hard analysis of them for a little later in the season. But yeah, high expectations. Talk about a big amount of money that is being spent, to put together that stadium, and then big amount of money to bring in some of these stars for the Rangers. And they're going to look for some results, and fans are going to look for them, and certainly the owners.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look up their total salaries for this year. This is according to Fangraphs. Their estimated 2022 payroll, it looks like it's going to be about 145 million. So they're not up there with Dodgers and the Yankees, but still, they handed out a good chunk of change to guys like Seager and Simeon as well.
Well, like I said, I'm not surprising that the expectations are high, but we'll see how that plays out. Oh, let's see what else is going on out there. Oh, yeah, and and looking out that way too, as far as the Giants, they had a little controversy, with Mike Shildt. Antoan Richardson, third base coach for the Giants, was working his deal out there, doing one thing or another. Anyway, Mike Shildt in the dugout for the Padres had a thing or two to say for him, including the MF word. As you might imagine, Richardson got a bit upset, said something back, and was moving, I guess, toward the dugout or near the dugout. And at that point, the umpire threw him out of the game. Well, the good news, if there is good news after something like that, is Alyssa Nakken came out from the Giants, and she wound up running third base from there as the coach. She became the first female coach to coach on the field. Kudos to her for that, and I'm sure she's done a lot of great things before this, and will do a lot of great things in the future as well. The good news, if you want to call it that again, while there was some kind of heat initially between Richardson and Shildt, the next day they met out there at home plate with the media and sat down and said, you know what, there were some misunderstandings, and Shildt said, I said something, that MF word I should never have said. So a day later, in cooler heads, I guess, or maybe just a little bit of thought and conversation, they chatted it out. And Richardson said, he didn't think Shildt was a racist, but he wanted to convey the effects of his words. This is more something we both want to use as an opportunity to bring awareness. That sometimes words that are harmless are very insensitive to others. And it's really just important that we are conscious of these things that we are saying. Once again, Shilt's been a big supporter of the Black community. I appreciate him taking ownership and understanding the impacts of his words. Evidently, that was the end of it. They met with the press at home plate, and any animosity that may have been there has long since been quelled. One bright, shining light came from all of that brouhaha, and that was seeing Alyssa Nakken out there as a field coach. I'm glad to see her talent there, and I'm glad it's being recognized, because people do need to, one, realize that it hasn't been happening enough, and two, for anybody, a young woman or a young girl who was even thinking about a career in baseball, guess what? It can happen. So I think it was very important for those reasons alone.
Yeah, because I mean, you never know who's watching, and it shouldn't really matter, man, women, whatever you identify as. If you know baseball and you can coach it, you deserve a shot.
Agreed. So kudos to Alyssa, and also glad to see that Shildt and Richardson were able to mend the fences. We talk about the spirit and the nature of baseball, and the ability to be able to forgive and forget, to move on. And that's what we're going to do right now with this part of the episode.
Nice transition, though.
Yeah, you like that? That's pretty good. I'm a genius when it comes to that sort of thing. Yeah. So, you look at some of these things with words being said, like Mike Shildt, et cetera. And he's not the only one out there saying things that people may regret. You look at the Judge thing, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, so I'll be real brief. But the whole thing about the Aaron Judge and how much money he's making out there, there's been little rumors back and forth. Some things were a little snippety and snipety, and some things from Brian Cashman, some things from John Heyman, and I think who else was out there? I think Anthony Rizzo made some comments about what's going on, how they feel about it, and in the end, that's between them. Go ahead and make that up. I'm not concerned about all those pieces. So Yankees, keep that to yourself, and actually maybe spend a little more time trying to figure out how you're going to beat the Blue Jays today. That might be more important for you.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Judge. They didn't really agree on much anything. It was like Judge, he wanted the Mike Trout contract, a longer deal. He wanted to be in New York for long term and get paid close to the same amount. And the Yankees, they were hoping he would back down off of that with injury concerns, which I mean, I don't blame him, but Trout also has injury concerns as well. So might be a decent barometer as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that finally does roll out. But thank goodness we got baseball actually going on out in the field. So what's going to go back in the office with contracts and such? You guys take care of that. I want to see what's going on in the field. And like I said, you better step up, Yankees, because the Blue Jays are coming, and they're coming hard. Yeah. So we'll see what goes on with the rest of the week with that. A lot of times, people who get in front of a mic say things that, they probably will regret later. Well, there's you and I, but looking at across in the Cincinnati Reds and their president, Castellini, the thing of it is, if you're live on a show and somebody asks you a question, you still need to gauge it, how you're going to respond to it. And you shouldn't allow yourself to be, what do I want to say, egged on into saying something just for sensationalism. Well, Castellini, he kind of did. Let's see, we're going to play an excerpt. I think it's from WLW, an interview he had the other day with them. And they were going over, I guess, some tweets or some commentaries that from fans who were not pleased with the Reds results and wanted to know what they were going to do about it. If I remember correctly, part of the critique against the Reds was like, say, what are you going to do? Do something like, Baltimore or something like that? Well, Castellini came right back. And here's what he had to say on opening day on WLW.
That's the bottom line.
Sloaney asked you about the quote, show little faith in us, right?
Yeah.
And I saw you got right through the coals. So you have people who say, look, faith is earned, 15 years of ownership. They haven't won to the extent that we would like. And so you had my faith, but you've lost it. Why should that fan maintain trust in you?
Well, where are you going to go? Let's start there. I mean, sell the team to who? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you want to have this debate. If you want to look at what would you do with this team to have it be more profitable, make more money, compete more in the current economic system that this game exists, it would be to pick it up and move it somewhere else. Yeah. And so be careful what you ask for. I think we're doing the best we can do with the resources that we have.
Well, Brandon, there's a financier at work. There's a man with a business plan, but it doesn't necessarily include the fans per se. It's certainly not in Cincinnati, but I said, again, I want to give him a little bit of room because you get caught up in the moment and people say things, but you shouldn't be saying that when you're president of the daggone team.
Well, you're a little bit more lenient than me, but I'll be nice to the guy. It was opening day, so why not riff the fans on opening day? And a couple things. Where are they going to go? They can go across town to the team with the bright future with a franchise quarterback that just made a Super Bowl run. They can go there. What else did he say? The fans can be upset also because you haven't won a playoff series since 1995. I am in my early 20s, and that was before I was born. Actually, I don't even think my parents were married when that happened, so that's how long it's been. Friends was only in its second season at that time as well, so it's been a bit.
You were born after Friends? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was born in the late 90s. That's all I'll say, at least live. And it's like these owners, especially in baseball, it seems like, you should be grateful that we have our team here in your city. You owe us. I mean, we don't have to look very far for that. Just look across the bay.
Yeah.
And it's like, in this day and age, with everything going on, people don't want to hear this coming from their owners, like that they owe you. You owe them, if anything. And it's your words have consequences, because look at the Rays. How's their attendance doing so far this year, Mark?
Ooh, my gosh, man. I watched it last night, and it was like a vacuum. It just like all of the audience must have just been sucked right out of the place. I mean, it looked almost as bad as the Detroit Tigers did the other day out in the rain and the cold.
Yeah, at least that's an excuse. It's a midday game and it's cold and rainy, but I mean, what do you expect? There's only so much fans are willing to take from an owner, and why should they spend their money in the way the world is right now with, inflation and all this stuff going on? There's more important things they could be spending their money on, and they don't want to hear some millionaire's son telling them, hey, we can go somewhere else if we want. Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
People don't really want to hear that.
No. And as well, they shouldn't have to. So, you beg questions like that, and he's going to be saying something stupid like that. It's just wrong. I mean, what GMs, owners, if they insult the fans, don't be surprised if there's some kind of pushback. And I truly believe what you're saying about the attendance probably at the Rays isn't just simply because of excitement about them, but maybe it's kind of a pushback against Stu. And maybe that will wind up happening more and more with other teams. We'll see.
It wouldn't shock me, but I mean, at least give an honest apology too. Castellini and Stu both did like the shoulder shrug. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that, man. It's like what I do when I mess up on the show, and I apologize to you. That's what it was like.
Let's see. What did Castellini say? Yeah, the whole part. And be careful what you ask for. I think we're doing the best what we can do with the resources that we have. We're no more pleased with the results than the fans. I'm not here saying anybody should be happy. I'm not polishing trophies in the office right now. And that's what we're here to do. Polish trophies. I don't get it. But the bottom line, and I do think we've had to shift the discipline. We've had a lot of things that didn't work, and they came this close to working and didn't. Nobody's got to tell me it didn't work. Okay, I'm doing this more emphatically than he did. Just to put a little bit more into it. But then he came back and he said, I apologize to Red fans and regret the comments that I made earlier today. He said, we love this city. We love this team, and we love our fans. I understand how our fans feel, and I am sorry. Woof.
Very heartfelt, I see.
Oh, gosh. Lord help us all. But, you got to wonder, it is a business, these people. And sometimes not the inattention or the lack of attention to the fans. If they're going to see that these people are business people, and they're not always just going to invest in that team. If we look over history, it's interesting. We've seen in the past how owners will manipulate a city, with a team. And look, I was reading Bobby Valentine's book, Valentine's Way. And one of them is he was recounting when he was with management with the Rangers, is how the Texas Rangers were trying to manipulate the city about getting some things done. And they threatened to move their team to Tampa Bay.
Oh, that makes 3 organizations that almost moved here.
There you go. See, this was like back in around 1989. And
I wasn't around for that one.
No. Another pre-Brandon move. But yeah, and that's not the only thing. I was looking at Craig Calcaterra. We were talking about some of the things he's put out there in the past, and he did a pretty good analysis. I'm going to hype this book one more time. We don't have a commercial in the show, but if we did, this would be it. Rethinking Fandom, great book. And he goes into that, and he was looking at how owners, kind of shift their loyalties, or not even a loyalty so much about shift their interests and where they're going to be able to make more money. I was talking about Bobby Valentine, and specifically in his book. Here's the quote from the book. Tampa was a dummy franchise for teams that wanted to hold their city ransom. They had built a mausoleum there in St. Petersburg, the Suncoast Dome that became the Thunderdome, that became Tropicana Field. Yeah, you remember before we actually had a team, we were building a stadium in hopes of actually being able to attract one. And that's why one of the reasons they were a dummy franchise is Bobby Valentine says in his book, Valentine's Way. Yeah, and scanning through Craig Calcaterra's book, he's talking about, of course, how the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants, they moved out to L.A. These things just didn't happen, There was a chance to make more money. Owners saw this happening. Presumably, MLB thought it was a good move, too, because none of that would have happened without them. So if you're looking for allegiance from owners, you got to remember, they're looking for a paycheck, man.
And talking about another sport, and this just happened about a month ago, maybe not even, but the Buffalo Bills threatened to move from Buffalo. I mean, those two go together perfectly. They have one of the most loyal fan bases in all of sports. The Raiders had one of the most loyal fan bases in all of sports in Oakland. They still left for Vegas. And, the Bills use the threat of, we'll move to San Antonio, which, I mean, they kind of seem like the dummy franchise of the NFL, because I think the Saints almost moved there when the Superdome was still torn apart from Katrina. But yeah, they ended up getting a sweetheart deal. It was like over $1 billion stadium, and most of it was funded by the city, which I don't know how Buffalo has almost $1 billion. And they wound up cutting like an $800 million program with the state a couple days after they announced the deal.
I don't get it. I mean, you look at what's going on with the Rays. We've talked about them, and God knows, because we have an interest there. But we've joked about saying, well, why don't you get Bezos involved? Why don't you get Elon Musk? Elon Musk just spent almost $3 million for a 9% share of Twitter. He could have bought himself a team and a stadium for that, for that amount of money. Getting back to Buffalo, and like I said, Buffalo Bills, wherever else are you going to go with this team? Where else are you going to be able to come up with a name that works with that team?
I don't know. It's just all about the dollar with some of these owners. They don't care about the teams or winning. They just only care about the money.
Well, and if you take a look, I mean, there are owners who have invested in other teams, and while still maintaining a loyalty and keeping up a team that they primarily had. I mean, you look at the Glazers, who own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're getting out of baseball a bit, but it's about finances and supporting in teams. The Glazers have done a fantastic job with the Buccaneers. I mean, bringing in Tom Brady, winning a Super Bowl. People were concerned about them a couple of years ago when they looked across the water and said, hey, how about over there in that Premier League? Let's Manchester United. They look pretty good on our stock report there, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah, they look good on the stock report, but I don't know much about soccer. It sounds like they don't look as good on the field, though.
Yeah, well, but I think what I guess I'm getting at is initially Tampa Bay fans were concerned that the Glazers wouldn't give enough attention to the Bucks. Maybe they do need to give a little bit more interest to Manchester United, but they're not the only ones, with teams here in the U.S. who've looked at, going into other sports and other countries. You take the Los Angeles Rams. They, too, were looking at one of the soccer premier leagues, and that's the Arsenal. They got that one. It's difficult to see where things are going to happen with all this. So I don't expect, I guess, an allegiance or an excitement about a team, from its owner, because they're looking at this as an investment. Let's see right now what's going on. Okay. So many people are not doing business with anything Russian, because of the terrible tragedy going on in the Ukraine. And yet I've been hearing about this deal for the Chelsea team, which I believe is owned by one of those oligarchs. There's several MLB teams that have people that are actually looking at investing with that and picking up the Chelsea team. Some of them are looking at here too, Brandon. I mean, the Chicago Cubs, the Ricketts family gets a lot of grief a lot of time, and usually quite reasonably so when you look at who all they they gave away last year, as far as I'm concerned. If you look at the Ricketts family, they and Ken Griffin have decided to make a bid for the Chelsea team. So there's going to be a number of other, like I said, American owners in the Premier League. We talked about the Glazers. And the Jets, New York Jets owner, Woody Johnson. And he's also trying to put together a deal for Chelsea. Another one moving into the European soccer world. So let's see of course. The Dodgers. So two of the LA Dodgers co-owners are also going to go head to head with a lot of the other folks over there for the Premier League and trying to get Chelsea. I don't know, man. The owners, I guess I don't look at that so much as abandoning their teams that they currently have as just looking for a second investment.
Yeah, I could see it that way too. And another ownership group that's diversifying their portfolio is the Fenway Group, who owns the Red Sox. They just bought the Penguins earlier this year, and they also are part owners of RFK Racing and NASCAR. So they've diversified their portfolio as well, but they went a different route. Instead of going to the Premier League, they went to the NHL and NASCAR.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of times the sport rises and falls, with popularity. And you got people, 15, 20 years ago, NASCAR, they just saw that for people like me, people down the South who had nothing else to do but go out and enjoy fast cars and a few accidents. No, that's terrible.
I could go on and on about the rise and fall of NASCAR. I mean, How long you got?
We got to do a show on that sometime. We got to do a sports split show. But, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on out there. And like I said, I accept that. I just don't want to see owners neglecting their teams here in the Major League Baseball. And the Reds, I'm not sure that they're really enhancing that team. So we'll see. So it's real easy to, like I said, give a critique here after just the first opening week, 5 or 6 games into the season. Well, now that I've gone on with my rant about owners once again, what else you got to throw at us?
We have some positives we can talk about, try and brighten the show up a little bit.
Oh, I like that. Let's do that.
There's a couple guys who have caught the eye of the baseball world in the 5 games of the season so far. We'll start with the Cleveland Guardians, and I did not call them their former name, so I'm proud of myself there. Stephen Kwan. And through 5 games, and some of this comes courtesy of John Sable on Twitter, through 5 games, he was 10 for 14 with a 667 average, 750 on base, 7 runs, 7 walks, 4 RBIs, 2 doubles, a triple, and a hit by pitch. And he went 150 pitches. And can you guess how many swings and misses he had?
I don't know. Somewhere around 100 or thereabouts.
He had 0.
0.
Yes. And then that streak went up until Wednesday, where the first pitch that he saw, he swung and missed. And the streak ended at 116.
Wow.
So a bit of a good stretch there for him. And his last strikeout up until Wednesday was September 26th of 2021. So that was 76 plate appearances.
Wow, that's fantastic, man. I must have been 100 on the other side of that one. But wow, I mean, Kwan's just absolutely killing it. And I love seeing that going on with the Guardians too. There's that kind of excitement with some of these players. And I know there's a lot of ones out there as well. Who's that guy newbie who came across the water and playing for the Cubs? What's he been up to?
Seiya Suzuki. And I have some stuff on him from NBC Sports Edge and Stats Perform. At one point, he had, I believe it still holds up, he has more home runs than swings and misses. He had 3 home runs and 2 swings and misses. And he has been the only player with 8 or more RBIs and 4 or more walks over his first 4 career games since RBI became an official stat all the way back in 1920. And at the moment, he is currently hitting .417 with 8 RBIs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, 529 on base percentage, and a 1696 OPS.
Wow.
And just for reference, the average OPS over the last few years has been about in the 700s.
Well, I know I saw him and I was watching his first at bat. Wow, he hit a home run, I think, right? His first at bat, man. This guy was crazy. I mean, his first game in the U.S., his first game as a Cub, first hit as a home run. And the excitement just is amazing for him and internationally as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of future he brings because it's obviously he's kicking butt right now. I see another old Tampanian friend around here is doing well. And just even last night, the polar bear himself, Mr. Pete Alonso, he was doing, with the Mets and a game the other night against the Phillies. Pete had 5 RBIs in one game when there was like a 9-6 win over the Mets. So you could say he contributed.
And I'll throw one more out there. I didn't put in our notes. but we got to give this man some love because, hey, we're a big fan of him. But G-Man Choi, so far this year, he's hitting 563, 4 runs, 6 RBIs, 2 home runs. So he's been off to a really good start. And I mean, him and Wander Franco have been pretty much carrying the Rays team so far.
Yeah, Franco's been absolutely amazing. And Choi just, wow. I know it wasn't in a tweet or a message you sent to me the other day when Choi was doing so well. You said, Freddie, who?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's right, because there was some discussion about Freddie coming to the Tampa Bay Rays at one point. But Choi has definitely continued to put himself up there as far as delivering the goods. And look a little further into the Rays simply for some fun. And I love it, buddy. My good, close personal friend, actually, he's everybody's good, close personal friend if you watch the game, and that's Brett Phillips. This guy is amazing. He's absolutely insane out there in outfield. I saw some catches he was making. It was outstanding. And the other night when the Rays were really struggling, and I think it was the night Patino pitched only like 13 pitches, took an injury. They were looking kind of sharp, coming up short on pitchers toward the end of the game, and they put Brett Phillips, an outfielder, right up there on the mound. Oh, and there's some hijinks there, and you'll have to take a look online for this. But one of them, while he was pitching, he's racing to catch the ball because there's a pop-up, and lo and behold, he's sliding across the dirt in front of the Oakland A's dugout to pick up, I think, practically a basket catch from the ball, and it's like, wow. He entertains, but he continued to go on entertaining some more that week.
Yeah, and he had a really good feel-good story, and we love to promote those. Where there was an 8-year-old girl, her name was Chloe Grimes, or is Chloe Grimes, and I believe it's her second time going through her battle with cancer.
Yeah.
And she's a big Brett Phillips fan, so she got to throw out the first pitch to him, and she gave him her wristband, and he wore it. And while she was being interviewed, he got to hit a home run. So that was something that was really cool to see.
And those are the moments I think that we all enjoy, not merely just Antoan and Mike Shildt giving one another a hug, but to see something like that story with Brett Phillips and Chloe, and her, they said, doing the first pitch, her giving him the bracelet. Those are the sort of things that really do make baseball fun.
And I saw they also went and got the ball off of the ring, and he's going to sign it for her, and then they'll give her the ball. So that's another cool thing that they're giving her. Yeah,
Brett said that was maybe the farthest ball he ever hit. Certainly the one that stayed up the longest anyway.
Yeah, it was up there for a little while.
A couple of days, no. Oh, God bless them both, and certainly Chloe Grimes. And if you guys are interested in helping her out, there is a GoFundMe page for Chloe. If you put in Chloe Grimes, you'll be able to find this on GoFundMe. So, a young lady, again, fighting her second bout with cancer, and looked like she's got a lot of strong spirit, much more so than many of us can muster, I'm sure. So God bless them both, and, hope they both have great things to come.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it better myself.
Well, what other little fun things are going out there above and beyond the world of baseball, Brandon?
Oh, so we have a ton of things that have been going on lately. I mean, F1, they made their return to Australia. That was something really cool to see. They had like 440,000 people there over the weekend. So that was something really fun to see. I had to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the race live, but I didn't do that. I caught the replay at 9 in the morning. Let's see. We got the NBA playoff games happen this week, and playoffs should be starting this weekend. So I love myself some NBA playoff basketball. It's always fun to watch. The Stanley Cup playoffs, those are closing in. Hockey should be wrapping up here in a couple weeks. So we got some playoff races going on. And then, how much I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's always something. I think the best playoffs in the world, but I'm slightly biased. The Lightning have done very well in them lately. And, we talked NASCAR earlier in the show. They're racing on dirt this weekend. So
what?
That's something they're doing their second dirt race. They did it last year. It was the first time they'd done it in like 50, 60 years. And I mean, I'm excited for it. I grew up watching a dirt track here in our area. I just think that's really cool to see. And it's at Bristol, one of my favorite tracks. So You combine the two, it's always going to be a good show. And that'll be Sunday night on Fox if you want to watch it.
Check it out, boys and girls. And one more thing I'd say too is following myself occasionally, the NCAA softball and the women out there just doing a fantastic job. Not surprisingly, Oklahoma's just staying up there on top. It's like they truly are a league of their own. It's amazing. So if you guys get a chance to follow that as well, a lot of great things happening there. And for you Florida folks, FSU is still, believe up there in the top 5. So we'll see how everything rolls out there. Any other goodies, any other things we need to share with our friends?
No, I think we're leaving this at a good spot.
Okay. Well, we want to thank all y'all once again for joining us and kind of taking a quick brief look at opening week with MLB. Glad to see that there was a season starting. And a lot of us were wondering if that was going to happen, me especially. But it's here. Excitement's there. Get out and see a ball game. Heck, let's see the Rays are playing here at 1 o'clock today. I might go yet. I might, who knows? They got 1 o'clock with athletics and see what happens. And I'm sure there's a lot going on in your market. If you're not directly close to an MLB team, find one of your minor league teams. There's excitement will out. And with that, Brandon, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Remember to like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, spread the word about us, and remember to follow us on Twitter. Mark, you're at TheBaseballBiz, is that correct?
You got it.
And I am at SportsBlitzPod on Twitter, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Special thanks to X-Take RUX for the music rocking forward.
Gone.
That's just terrible. Terrible basketball.